It's the start of a new week. It's a Monday morning. I've got a short week for me anyway, so I've got some things at the tail end of the week I need to take care of. So I've only got a few days to work on projects in the house. So I've got a list in my brain. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to disappoint you. But short list for today. I need to work on the walls, take care of the sheetrock patches and stuff like that, and then get paint on the walls. And then I talked about that guy, but get the new frame in there. So should be able to get a few things tackled today and then kind of let things dry and then work on some more stuff tomorrow. So hopefully take care of the stuff on the ceiling today as far as the trim goes. Caulk around the edge. I'm going to get some paint on the ceiling because I'll still be working on mud on the walls. So I can at least get the ceiling painted, I think, before I work on the walls because those will be different colors. The other thing I want to try is you see when you tape up a patch in the wall like we have here. I use the mesh tape, so I went vertical first on each side, and then I went across the top and the bottom and overlapped the tape like I believe you're supposed to. But what it does, if you look here, went over the top of it again, and my knife wrinkled up the mesh tape a little bit. So now that's a bump. So for me to cover that, I'd have to keep adding mud and then kind of, so you don't have a mound, you have to really spread it thin. So this patch that's, a foot by 2 feet will be like way out here and way down here kind of thing to make that blend. So what I think I'm gonna do to make my life easy, and I've never tried this before, so let's see how it works as an experiment. I'm going to take my utility knife and cut here and take that piece of tape off the top on every corner. And then we'll see if we can get that to lay flatter. See if the mud will lay better and we'll get a better overall repair. So I'm going to try that. The other thing I'm going to try with sheetrock is when you go to sand it, they say on the instructions you can sand it with a certain grit mesh paper or you can use a wet sponge. So I'm going to try a wet sponge. And hopefully that creates less dust, because if you've ever done sheetrock repairs, like a little patch somewhere in a wall, bottom of the stairs, something like that, that dust travels. So it's like, you can try all you want, but you start sanding and you've got a nice 10, 15 foot radius of white dust around the project. So I'm going to try using the wet sponge and seeing how that works, because I've never done it before, and then do that little tape trick and see how that works. And you'll find out how that works too. So that'll be fun. The other thing too I did was threw some paper on the floor, protect my floor, and mainly keep the paint off of it when I get the paint, and then also keep some of that sheetrock dust out of the grout, because that'll mess that up quite a bit. So anyway, that's what I got in store. So let's get to work. Okay, so I wanted to see how this works, so let's do a little test spot. So we'll try this corner first. Since I'm going to use a sponge on this too, I protected my outlet with a little bit of tape, hopefully keep some moisture out of there, because no one likes sparks when you're working on electrical. Plenty deep. Well, obviously you have to re-mud over the top of this, but the idea is not to put as much down. Oh, I went a little crazy. It's pulling up the tape underneath too. Okay. That's the one layer. We'll have to see how much damage I did by trying that. Make that look better than it was. Anyway. Throw C. I'm going to throw some more mud on that to really see what's going on, but that's the idea. I'm going to trim off that one piece. Evidently I need to be more careful than I was there. Let's try. See what sanding with a sponge does. think I like that. That was pretty quick and no dust anywhere. Dirty. All right. Looks like they did the same thing I'm going to do. So you build the frame first and then tack it in around. So you saw me cutting the caulk to the wall or to the ceiling, just so I'm not pulling half my ceiling down when I pull this down. So we'll recaulk it when we install the new one. So went pretty good. All right, we got to my car hole for this next part. So this is the flat stock I'm using for the trim. This is going to go vertical part of the door and the trim for that hatch in the ceiling. I've got thicker stuff. This is 3.5 inch stock. The thicker stuff, the 5-inch stock, will be my baseboards and the top of the door. So it's a little bit big for the ceiling. So we're just going to use this 3.5 inch stuff and build a little frame. Like I said earlier, it's not going to be a 45 like the one we took down. And the reason for that is the door is going to have that 5-inch stock across the top and then the 3.5 inch down each side. And I like that look. It's a more modern look. So I'm getting rid of that trim throughout the house when I do projects. So every project I do from now on will have this flat stock replacing that more ornate base and trim that I have. So for this, it's just going to be butt joints all the way around. So I've got a little pocket hole jig that I'm going to just cut the pieces that I need, pocket holes for it, screw it together so it's one piece, and then nail it in place and caulk it, and then we can paint the ceiling. So it should be pretty quick and easy. So let's get to that point. All right, so I cut down the 4 pieces that I needed. I flipped them over because I'm going to drill these pocket holes on the back side of the boards, so they're all hidden. And I just double check stuff, and I'm glad I did, because it's the same thing as like measure twice, cut once idea. Just, pre-assemble, look at it and go, is this right or not? Because I was going to drill pocket holes in the wrong boards. So I caught myself before I did that. So I've got the longer boards. I looked at my diagram that I doodled up for the project, so that helped me too. So I've got the jig set here on the board, so we're going to drill 2 holes per side per board. So I usually just grab the jig and just hold it there with my thumb, but the way my arm and my injury's been, I decided to use the clamp like you're supposed to. So that first one turned out pretty good. So may have to start using tools properly from now on. I don't know. We'll have to see. All right, pocket holes drilled. Okay, we got the pocket holes cut. I've clamped them down to this little board. I use these boards in my other business when I'm assembling small pieces because this is super flat. My workbench not so much. So and I make smaller items and stuff, so these work really great. So this I'm just using as a clamp so that I know these two pieces are precisely flat and there's not going to be a gap on the back side. Then I clamp it all down and I can screw them together. So that's what I'm doing now. Make sure you have the right size screws so you don't blow out the other side, which is your finished side. So got the right length screws and we'll put this together. You can see that pull it through a little bit too, which is nice. Do that 3 more times and we're done. I won't put you through that. So yeah, made the front turn out pretty good. So happy with that. Okay, so got all that fastened together. So there's the finished product. It's basically just a picture frame. And so that's ready to go just to fasten back up into the ceiling. Then we'll caulk that in and then we can paint the ceiling. Wanted to show you this too because I was thinking something like this for the mirror because we pulled that old mirror down and I think I can cut that down and make something like this. We'll just have to route out a little channel on the inside, put the mirror in and glue that in, and then there'll just be a mirrored picture frame. It's not going to be white like the trim. I'll probably match the base cabinet. So that way those things will go together. So I was kind of thinking that unless I find something that's super cheap and I can just repaint it and kind of refinish something old and make it new. But we'll see. Okay, just wanted to show you real quick. We got the frame up around the attic access. Went in pretty good. It's a little bit awkward because I'm trying to balance it on my head in one hand and try to grab the nailer with the other hand and stand on the top of a stepladder, and so not great to film because that's one more thing to try to figure out. But anyway, it's in, it went well. I think I kind of tacked it up in one corner and then measured off the wall. So I'm about 7.5 inches off the wall. So it should be parallel with the wall there. So even if it's a hair off, it should look reasonable from a distance. All I have left to do is caulk around the perimeter. Remember, do not caulk the hatch in because you want to be able to remove that later. So just the outside perimeter before I paint the ceiling, and I'll pull the hatch out and paint that separate in the garage or something. Because you can see as I get in and out and did projects, I got it all dirty. So that's a downside of the hatch because I'm going to paint my ceilings. I like to do a flat ceiling on, a flat white on the ceiling like this. I mean, that's the living room. Can't tell very well, but gray walls, white ceiling, and the ceiling is flat white. So if there's any waves or anything in the ceiling, sheetrock or something like that, the flat paint doesn't show it as much. So with texture and that kind of stuff, I like to do a flat ceiling. because generally you don't touch your ceiling, so it's pretty safe up there. I wouldn't never do a flat wall because, fingerprints. Okay, did a couple things off camera because they're kind of boring to look at and hard to see, even for me, so I wasn't sure I was going to get a camera in there as well. So, caulked around my hatch trim. I use this product, it's called Big Stretch. Not a sponsor, but it is a sponsor of a channel that I watch all the time, Perkins Brothers Builders. It's a sponsor of theirs, and so I was kind of curious about it. So I usually am the type of person who just buys the cheap stuff at the box store. So I wanted to try this stuff out for all my trim around my baseboards and my doors and that kind of stuff, and kind of see if it lasts better than the other cheap stuff. So we'll give that stuff a try. The other thing I need some putty to fill in my little nail holes in my trim, so I need to grab some of that from the store. I also ran out of mud for this project, so I got that little tub, if you remember, because I go, oh, it's just a patch, I won't need that much. I also forgot that no matter what project you do, you're always going to need more than you need. You're always going to need more than you think. So I'm probably going to need another skim coat on that once I sand it down a bit. So I think this time I'm going to see if I can get the powdered stuff that I can mix up on demand, so that way you don't have to worry about opening a bag in a box and wasting 5 pounds or however many pounds that is. So I'm going to see if I can find that. So some putty for the trim nails, and then some topping compound for this. So I got to run to the store and do that, and I'll let this stuff dry. Okay, so it's the next morning. I spent yesterday, I didn't record a lot of it, so you saw me work on the ceiling a bit, get that hatch trim in. That's looking pretty good. The other thing I did was I spent a lot of time on the wall. So I think I need to do a little bit more down here because I can feel a ridge right at the bottom where that medicine cabinet was. So I think float that out a little bit further down below. The rest feels pretty good, but I think it needs a little bit of touch up. I used the powdered stuff that you mix on your own, and I really liked it. So I pulled out my sheetrock pan and the larger blades, which make a huge difference. So just mixed it in there. I like it because you mix what you need, and you don't have to worry about the bag in a box drying out, or that little bin that I bought originally drying out. So I think that's a good go-to, and you always have something available for a quick little fix. So those huge blades, or those larger blades, really worked well on covering this larger patch. For little patches on the wall, you're probably fine with a smaller blade, like a 3 or 4 inch one. But to really get that smooth on the wall, you need that 10, 12 or bigger blade just to run over the top of the whole patch area. So I think overall it's pretty good, but I might need to play with that a little bit more. And then I'll spend a little bit of time prepping the walls. I'll swap out that light fixture for something like a single bulb, something just that I can hang away from the wall so I can get the wall painted behind it. The other thing, I need to prep around where this trim came off. I scraped it real quick, but there's a couple of nails in the side. So when I get to trim, that's all clean. I want to get the walls cleaned and prepped and everything that's going to be messy done, because then I can sweep up the floor and paint everything. And then after that, I can pull this covering off the floor, because then we're going to put in the cabinet, you need to put in trim, that kind of stuff. So papers down to protect the floor for the painting and the mess. So anyway, let's get to that point, get the day going. All right, it's the next day. I know I didn't record a lot of stuff yesterday, but we made some pretty good progress on some things so that the project can move along. So I think in the video, it's going to be a real short little blip of, hey, this is what we got done today. But it allowed us to get moving on the project. So this is kind of what we did. So I know I did a couple more skim coats on the wall of that powdered drywall mix. So that turned out really good. Once that was all done, I did a final sanding, and there's the leftovers on the ground. The sponge was doing a pretty good job, but I felt like it was not leaving it super flat, because there wasn't a flat back on it like you would have on a sander. So it just kind of be your hand, and so it wasn't making it super flat. So we got that done. The other thing, I put a coat of primer on it before I went to bed last night. And I just spot primed it. So whatever had a sheetrock patch on it, I threw some primer on it, because if you don't do that, you're going to notice it when you paint it, because whatever it is about paint, it absorbs into the sheetrock patch a little bit differently than it would absorb just into the wall. So it's just going to be noticeable. The texture is going to be off. You're just going to see the outline of the patch. So make sure you at least spot prime where your patches are, like I did. The other thing, we finished up the ceiling. So that's the final coat of paint on the ceiling. So it's just white. The fans, that's a little bit yellowish because it's plastic. I'm going to replace those at some point, and that'll be a project where I just replace all the fans in the bathroom and vent the fan for the microwave in the kitchen, that kind of stuff. So that'll be a separate project. So for now, back in the ceiling, looks good. I let the hatch dry overnight. So before I put that in there, so I had all that cold air from my attic dumping down all night, but now the room's starting to warm up, so that's looking good. Oh, and then I pulled down the old fixture and then discovered what the electricians did, which many expletives later. So if you know what that word is, that's another fancy name for swears. I said a lot of those. Because the box is not centered over where the vanity should be. They were off by a stud or something, and instead of moving the box, they just moved the wire over horribly. And I've seen that in a few houses I've owned, so not too happy with the contractors that are sloppy like that. So it works, it looks fine, but then you go to change the light fixture like I did, and I go, I can fix that and move the box over and everything and center it, but that means more sheetrock patches and another few days of delay. So I know why they do it. I hate when they do it. So yet another pet peeve. So anyway, we got a lot of stuff done yesterday. So didn't show up on the video, but we got a lot of stuff done. Now we can progress. So ceiling's done. And now I can paint the walls. So that's what we're going to do today. So a couple coats of paint on the wall. And then we'll let that dry, and that's probably all we're going to get in this week, because tail end this week I've got some other stuff to do. So as far as the walls, I'm just going to cut in around the ceiling. I shouldn't need to tape any of that off. I'm okay at that. I would never say I'm a great painter, but I will cut in around the ceiling, inside corners. I am going to tape my edges here because I do like nice clean seams. So I'm going to tape the edge around the tile, and so I have a nice sharp edge. So I'll do that. And what I like to use for that is this frog tape. Most people just like, oh, use painter's tape, the blue tape that everyone is aware of. I started using frog tape years ago, and I love it. So I'll tape it just like you would normally, and then I'll go back over with a wet sponge and just go over the seam. And what that does is that moisture gets into the chemicals that is in the tape, and it gives you that nice sharp edge. Because if you don't, and if you just use regular tape, it's okay, but that is much better. Actually, I think I probably can show you. That is a sharp edge with frog tape. So perfect. And that's what I'm going for. So let's get the paint, and I don't know how much I'm going to show you of that because it's tough to maneuver in here with a ladder and get up in the ceiling and a roller and have a camera and lights and stuff in here. So we'll see how, I might just paint it and show you what it looks like when we're done. Okay, just finished putting on the second coat of paint. So the walls are all good to go. They're in the back, they probably look a little blotchy because things are still drying. So there's some wet spots and dry spots, but I covered pretty good. I'm sure I'm going to have some oopsies here and there because I remember having some oopsies when I was brushing and cutting in corners. So I always come back and do a little touch up and stuff, but I can do that much later. So painting is done. I'm going to let that dry. We're kind of done for the week. I've got a few things to think about. So one is, how am I going to deal with that? If I want to do it correctly, I need to move that box over to the middle, but that means patch, paint, sheetrock repair, all that kind of stuff. So everything I just kind of did on the wall here. So that's going to be another 2 or 3 day delay. So what I think I'm going to do is find, that's the fixture that came down from there. You can see it's got a full backing plate, so they were able to cheat that box over. That's the fixture that I found that I wanted to put in there, but you can tell it's only got that one little cover that would cover where the box is, and the box is over here. So that's not going to work. So probably the easiest thing for me, I'll find a new fixed light fixture that has a full back like that, so I can cover the original error, and we will pretend it's not there because we'll find something that works. So we'll take care of that. Next things, we'll get the cabinet in place. We can put the trim up after that. So we paint the trim, put the trim up, get the cabinet in there, get the light fixture in there. When we painted gray from that kind of tan, it really darkened up the room, even with the white ceiling. Plus, I went down to 1 light bulb. That other fixture had 4, so it's a little bit dark in here, but we should lighten that back up with a new fixture. So those are kind of the next steps and what's kind of on tap for next week. So till then, if you would like, share, subscribe, mash all the buttons, that always helps me, and we will see you next time.